It was night, and my 8-year-old son, Mark, and I were out for shopping. Our home was located on the edge of a tranquil neighborhood, inherited from my grandparents. Mark and I shopped, bought Christmas gifts, and then took a break at a fast food restaurant. After the shopping was done, we exited the shopping center from the south exit, and there we encountered a Santa Claus. Santa Claus waved to us, delivered the traditional Christmas speech, and then stooped to Mark's level to ask him what Christmas gift he desired. Mark said he wanted a Nintendo Switch, and interestingly enough, it was exactly what I had already considered getting him for Christmas. Santa chuckled and said, "If you're good, maybe you'll get it," winking at me. I smiled, and he stood up, complimenting me. Later, we engaged in an ordinary adult conversation for a few minutes. Man said he worked for the shopping center. However, there was a moment that wasn't just the cheerful demeanor in Santa's gaze. He praised Mark to me and then leaned towards me, saying, "Mark, your mum is a beautiful woman. You know?" Mark, understanding what he meant, smiled, and so did I. However, things took a strange turn. Santa, making a joke, claimed he heard the song "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus." Mark nodded, and Santa made a gesture implying he could give us a kiss on the cheek. I was about to innocently give him a kiss on his beard, but as I leaned in, he suddenly turned his head, attempting to kiss me on the lips. I immediately turned my face and stepped back. I realized this wasn't just an ordinary joke. "Come on, Mark," I said, and we started to walk away. Santa shouted, "Merry Christmas!" But that was the last thing I heard. We got home, locked the door, and started watching a Christmas movie. However, when the doorbell rang, an unease crept over me. It wasn't someone unexpected, and nobody usually came to my door at this hour. I opened the door and heard a voice claiming to be Santa Claus. However, on the phone, the voice I called earlier stated that he was not an official Santa Claus. He wanted me to open the door, but I decided to call the police. Learning that there was no official Santa Claus in malls, I became worried when the police said the person was following me. I showed them the note and mentioned that this person left me his number. On Monday, the police detective called and said the person would no longer contact me. However, this didn't comfort me. It only increased my worries. Waiting in fear to understand why this person continued to be interested in me, a few days later, the doorbell rang again. This time, cautiously approaching the door, I opened it slightly. However, there was only a delivery person. He had brought a package and gave me a card. The card read, "Merry Christmas," and inside there was a note. "I know you're scared, but I want to meet you. We could be very good for each other. Here's my number. Give me a chance." I was frightened, but at the same time, I was thinking of ways to take control of this situation and eliminate the threat. Realizing that I didn't want to confront this person, I turned to the police again and informed the detective about the situation. The detective assured me that they would take the necessary steps to end the harassment. However, to protect my privacy, he promised to stay in touch with me. For a few weeks, I began to relax under the increased police surveillance at home and in my surroundings. However, as Christmas approached, I felt the same sense of being followed by this person. Still, the detective's assurance and the constant support of the police somewhat reassured me. When Christmas Day arrived, I hoped to spend it peacefully at home with my family. However, in the evening, the doorbell rang again. This time, police officers were at the door. The detective informed me that the person had been arrested and would be taken to court. This moment filled me with great relief and a sense of security. In court, the person was convicted of the obsessive interest in me and the act of following me. A restraining order was issued, and this person could no longer contact me. For a few weeks, I lived in safety under the strict surveillance of police officers and detectives. When Christmas finally arrived, my home was filled with warm lights, and I was in a peaceful atmosphere with my family. However, in the late hours of the night, a strange sound filled my home. The creaky footsteps outside my room instantly caused concern. Carefully getting up, I approached the door. Opening it, I saw a dark figure in the corridor. Until my eyes adjusted, the figure stood in a corner. It looked like a shadow, yet it had a human-like presence. I asked loudly, "Who's there?" But the figure remained motionless. After a moment of stillness, it started moving towards me with heavy steps. With each step, my internal anxiety grew. In that moment, I experienced a night of terrifying suspense. When the figure slowly turned its face towards me, I realized it was the person shown in the pictures by the police and detectives. The obsessive man who had attempted kidnapping had reappeared. "I still want you," he said with a deep voice. "You should belong to me." I quickly grabbed my phone and started calling the police. However, this time, he immediately lunged at me. Forcibly taking the phone from my hand, he said, "You can't stop me." At that moment, police sirens were heard in the distance, but would they be fast enough? Suddenly, with the entry of detectives into the room, the man was subdued. The police arrested him, making me feel safe again. Despite the renewed attempt at kidnapping, the quick intervention of the police brought an end to this nightmare. Returning to a normal life would take time after the incident. The peaceful atmosphere of Christmas was now mixed with tension, and the memory of that day would always be associated with the fearful moments I lived through.